Okay, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, thank God it's Friday. But before we go home for the weekend, it's our duty here to keep you up to speed with everything happening in the world of business and even how to make your life better. You know, it's not all the time on the show that I would like to talk about those numbers, all those big numbers. I also bring out topics that would enhance you, you know, that may also solve your problems and that will add value to your life. Today we're doing just that. My guests are Folorunso Aliyu to my immediate right. He's the MD of ITECO Nigeria Limited.
Yes, please.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Then I have to my far right Nnaji Ekiotenne, the founder at Edgeways Limited. Welcome to you two. So welcome you both on air today. While we were, before we went on a break, I said, in fact, you brought the book to me.
Yes.
This book. Just a year and a half ago, yes. Close to 2 years. And we haven't talked about it
No,
since.
we don't have time.
You know, but this week, I had to like, you know, I was speaking to a group of young people in a hiring process. Let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. And I also remembered you. I remembered, oh, this book, you know, though I had gone through it then and all of that. But just like you told me within, before the, during the break that there's no better time. There's always a good time for something. So I was like, okay, fine. Now we needed to reach out to both of you because you see right now that elections have come and gone. The business of governance has to start. A lot of Nigerians are scuttling, going up and down, how to get their lives on track or what to do, how to get jobs or change jobs and all of that. So I think that's why I'm bringing both of you in to at least speak to Nigerians as authors of the book. So the two of them wrote the book. I salute writers, though. Don't know.
Thank you.
But let's get started. How relevant is, you know, this? How relevant should we, or how much more should we begin to talk about this unemployment? Unemployment numbers 23.1% in Nigeria. It has grown over the years. The highest one we're seeing now is the highest so far. A lot of people are still in the job market. What do you think, Mr. Aliyu?
Yeah, thank you very much. We cannot stop talking about unemployment because it will always be with us. The problem is the quantum and the number of people that are out of job compared with those who have the ability to work and are not able to find such jobs. So it's always going to be relevant in our environment. The issue is what can we do about it to reduce it to the barest and ensure that the average Nigerian can lay his hands on something to do? Because if we're not productive as a people, it invariably tells on the nation as a whole. So it's very important that we talk about it. It's very important that we do something about it as a people.
Anegbe, are we doing enough?
Well, I don't really think so because there are different sides to the issue. There's something we're working on, and there's something we believe in that for this issue to be looked at, we need to address three key things. We need to address the mindset, the handset, and the landset issues. Basically, those three areas, if we look critically at them, I think, and work really hard on them, I think it will help us. For instance, if you have the mindset taken care of, and you have the handset issue taken care of, and you don't have the landset issue taken care of, you will still have a problem. Now, let me break that down for that. The mindset issue has to do with the way people think about jobs. People have this, the government owes me a job. They have this you owe me mindset kind of thing, mentality. Yeah. And people celebrating certificates instead of celebrating, looking for opportunities to solve problems. Then the other thing which has to do with the handset has to do with the fact that people don't have capabilities, people don't have usable skills, okay, that they can use to solve problems. I'm just running through this. Then the last part of it is, which is the landset problem, has to do with policies, programs, and all whatnot that needs to be put in place, which has to do with the government and other stakeholders, that will have to work on that. But all these three have to, come into alignment and has to be worked on properly before you can say, yes, I think we are looking at this issue and we are making progress.
Out of this, which you've said, which one do you think is stares us mostly in the face? Is it the mindset, the handset, or the landset? When people are out of school, for example, and are seeking for jobs, they don't have it. Which one do you think stares us mostly in the face? Which one is the most challenging
of the
yes.
three? Unfortunately, at the stage we are in now as a nation, I think all three. Unfortunately, all three. And I will explain why. The typical average Nigerian today that is out of work thinks that someone else is at the root of their not having a job. The typical average Joe thinks that, oh, after all, I went to school. I've done what they've told me to do. We complain about it, and that's what you get, to a large extent. There are some that are doing something about it, but a large number. Moving to the handset, even for those who've gone to school, those who have good grades, you realize that usable skill, what we call skills, knowledge, and ability, the SKA, are not really as relevant as they should be. And it's a large chunk of the people. And the final one, which is what we all talk about, government or even employers of labor. Unfortunately, that's why the number is that high. Because all these three, unfortunately, seem to be rising at the same time. But in addressing these issues, I think we need to look at each of those and proffer solutions to each of them. You know, and I think that's way to go about solving these problems.
Now, if we want to address the mentality part of it, which is the mindset, you know, when I was going through even your book and all of that, you were of the view that a lot of people do blame either the government or even blame their village. They will say, village
True.
people following me and all of that have not been able to get a job. And for those of us that, you know, you speak to even people that are job seekers, even while you're interviewing them, you see that they do not have one skill or the other. Or even at that point of interview, they could even have the skills, but one thing or the other is missing. Even the way they talk or the way the mannerism, like, oh, okay. You know, what do you think? Because I see you being like this. Am I speaking your mind?
Yes, you're speaking what we have already written in the book, because I was going to make mention to, allude rather to the hiring process you were talking about. You now mentioned it anyway, because those are things that we experience and we've seen during the process too, during those hiring processes. The thing is this, people, talking about the mindset issue, people need to come to a place where they see themselves as the CEO of me. I think we talked about that in the book. You have to see yourself as the one that is first and foremostly, primarily responsible for the outcomes you get in your life. So you have to take responsibility for that. And then you have to see yourself, well, let me borrow the way we put it, see yourself as a business. Okay, let's leave the government, let's leave the other circumstances and situations out there, but you have to see yourself as the CEO of me. That means you have to work on yourself as a product. If you see yourself as a product, will you want to hire you? Will you want to buy you?
Yes.
So if you look at it from that perspective, you see that you now be forced to put yourself on a continuous self-upgrade program. So you now find out that, let's take for instance, somebody comes to a job interview process, like they came and you discover that they have a particular skill, and then you discover that probably the person is not good with communications. That means you have to go and upgrade. By the time you leave there, you need to go and work on yourself. Because really, at every point in time, there are things that an employer or consumer, an employer or customer is looking for at every point in time. So you must make sure that you are able to meet those needs. And if you're not able to meet those needs, then definitely you're not going to get the job, or you're going to get the business, whichever it is. So the person has to take responsibility and see themselves as the CEO of themselves and work on themselves and make sure that they have what it takes. They have the capability, they have the skills, they have the required technical skills.
Anej, I like what you said. Look at yourself as the CEO of yourself.
Yes.
If you're a CEO, would you want to hire yourself?
Yes.
So that means you need to put everything into perspective, even as you are approaching your would-be employer. That my would-be employer looking at me, would he or she want to hire me? Because what value am I bringing to the table?
Exactly.
Now, that brings me also to the issue of attitude, which you also alluded to in your book, that attitude counts. In fact, I've always said it, even while speaking to my team, when we have pep talks and all of that, even the team of young people, or where I go to speak, attitude is very, very, very key. You know, there's this saying that, you know, attitude
determines altitude.
Yes, attitude determines altitude. You know, your attitude can actually take you higher, or it can bring you lower. And you also said in your book that you should take charge of your attitude. How relevant is this, especially in the Nigeria of now, where a lot of people are very disgruntled, where a lot of people do not even have monies in their pockets, or one thing or the other is emotional problem, financial problem, a lot of problem. Even in our office space, we should also know or tell our viewers that we're not just talking of even someone going to seek for a job, even in your own businesses and all of that, where you have a lot of challenges left, right, and center. How do you still maintain that positive attitude?
Okay, thank you. Primarily, one needs to be self-aware. That's the first thing. One needs to be self-aware, understand yourself, and learn a bit about emotional intelligence. It helps you to contextualize things. In terms of getting a job, or even addressing your customer, it's important to first put yourself in the customer's shoes. To say, if I want to get to that side, what is most important to this employer at this time? What is most important to this consumer or customer at this time? That is the first thing, because that shapes the way you behave. It shapes the way you react. Secondly, it's important to do a lot of research before getting into situations. One of the things I see is a lot of people, thank God Nigerians are beginning to read now, but a lot of people still don't have the habit of reading. So you get into a situation before you realize that you need something. But if you've prepared before, I'll give you an example. We were doing a process of recruitment, and we had the position for just one engineer in the firm. And we had quite a number of people for this position, I mean, that applied for this position. A few of them came with this bad attitude of, well, after all, you owe me. It was very clear. Some of them came with, well, I'm quite good, so chips on the shoulders, that I'm way above all this other. But there were a few that were just okay in terms of what they've learned, in terms of their attitude was okay and all that. But one person stood out. And this person came and said, after the engineering discussions and all that, well, okay, generally okay, but will not be the top two. And she said, and we asked the question, so do you have any questions for her after the,
yeah.
And she said, oh, by the way, I've done a bit of research on your organization.
Fantastic.
I've done a bit of research on your organization, and I realized from your customers' feedback that in terms of engineering, you are perfect, well, but when it comes to project management, they said this, they said that, and all that. Do you know what happened? This was years back, about some 15 years back. You know what? We were interviewing for an engineer's role. But we looked at ourselves in the organization, and we said, and we looked and we exchanged knowing glances. And then we said, okay, no problem. You know, at the end of the day, this lady got a job for the position of a project manager, even though we never
advertised
for
even though you thought you did not need that.
Exactly, because not only did she say what the customer said, which we knew and were thinking of solutions to, but she also came to the table with some suggestions. That went along. In fact, we were disarmed because she wasn't arrogant about it, but she did some work to make us see value in what she was bringing to the table.
So she was hired?
She was hired, even though we were not looking for at that time. We ended up hiring 2 people instead of 1.
Yeah. You know what you just said? I also experienced it this week when I was, you know, speaking to a group of young people in the hiring process and all of that. And one also stood out and said, before I came to you, I had to research you. I did this, you did this. So the person was even telling me, I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so it is that important. And I hope that our viewers or people that are seeking for jobs or people that even want to enhance their businesses are taking 1 or 2 things away from this interview. I still want us to still hammer on the attitude, because, you know, your attitude will also determine, perhaps even when you're hired or in your business process or even with your staff and all of that.
Yes.
Determine also commitment, all those things. They are still part of.
True.
Yes, true.
And not perhaps when you are talking with your colleagues, your face is somehow, and all of that. It's, or doesn't it, or am I the one looking at all these things? Sometimes I say, do I want too much from people, or do I expect too much from a workplace?
You are not expecting too much. Let me just tell a story. One of the stories we wrote there, there's this thing that we're trying to express this same issue you raised about people in the workplace, people that have already been hired. We talked about two brothers working for someone who happened to be their father. And the father sent them on an errand to sort out, okay, no, the elder brother got upset and said the younger brother was being paid more than he was being paid. So the father now said, okay, no problem, we'll look into it. But before
that the younger brother
was being paid more than the elder brother.
So the elder brother was complaining.
Yes, he was upset about it. So the father now said, no problem. Before we discuss this, I'd like you to go to so place and make some inquiries about juveniles, about fishes, and then I want you to come back and tell me what it is that they said. So the elder brother went and came back and said, yes, they say they have juveniles. The father now said, okay, can you go find out how much it is? The elder brother spent some time again, got into the car, went and asked, and they told him how much. Then he came back again. Then the father now said, okay, you just stay here and watch. He called the younger brother and told him to go to some other farmer and ask him for juveniles for their new pound. The younger brother went, and by the time he came back, he now came back and told the father that I went, and they said they have, and it goes for so and so amount, and I negotiated with the farmer, and he said that we can have it for so amount, that we could have it for so number for so amount, but I also told him that if we're going to get more, we'll have to get it for a lesser and so amount, and that I told him that if I don't get back to him at the end of the day, he should know that he should send us a delivery. So what happened was that the younger brother saved time, saved money, and got things done way faster. The father now turned and looked at the elder brother, and the elder brother now understood. The younger brother was more committed. The younger brother was more diligent and detailed in whatever he was asked to do. He was not asked to negotiate, but he just knew that he needed to negotiate. He was not asked to, he was not told to ask about the price, but he knew he had to. The elder brother had to be told to do every single thing. As a matter of fact, you find this kind of people, a lot in the office. Sometimes people that you say, move this glass from here to here, they'll move it from here to here. Then they'll sit down. Then they'll say, but you move it from here. Didn't you see that it was dirty? Oh, they will not clean it and they not drop it. No, but they finished. Don't you think that you should have moved it out? Oh, you want me to move it out? I mean, if you were employed that kind of person, wouldn't you be frustrated?
And you know what also that I look at most times, that those people, when they are seeking for jobs in their CVs, the common phrase I see all the time is working with little or no supervision. You guys have not. Working with little or no supervision. And I'm wondering, which working with everybody, but you see that, anyway, what is also the role of passion in driving organizations, in driving your businesses, or even when you are being hired? And I want to also say, for those of you watching us, you can join the conversation. Please feel free to do that. All you need to do is to find and follow us on Facebook, Moneyline with Nancy. You can also find and follow me right now on Twitter. We all have these mobile devices. A lot of them are smart. Majority of them are smart now these days. Don't forget that today is World Consumer Rights Day. Trusted smart product. So all I need you to do right now is to punch in your questions or your opinions or your views at Nancy. Ask our guest your questions. So,
okay, the place of passion. First, let me say this. This book was not only written for those seeking a job. It's for employability, and value creation. So it goes beyond that, even to our homes. How do we see value? How do we create value? If you don't look out for value, it's difficult. You'll see yourself complaining more and more rather than trying to solve the problem to create value. So, having said that, I'll go back to the place of passion. Passion tells, passion speaks. The way you project yourself is very self-evident when it comes to others. So, when you come to a place of work and every day people think you show as if you are doing them a favor, It's very clear. In fact, in a book, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention the author. It's an internationally written book, and you see that at the very bottom is what you call commodity. As you begin to add value and to distinguish yourself, is called the value creation stage. What goes next is very telling. Very few people get into what you call the user-friendliness stage. That stage is when it's about human beings. And when you work in an environment, for you to stand out from the pack, you must show passion. If you don't like what you do, you need to seek what you love to do. Because I've seen that because of the unemployment situation in Nigeria, a lot of people tend to take jobs that they do not like. And so they put themselves in a cage, and on a daily basis it shows. That's why.
But can you also blame them, because people want to also be afloat? You know, just to also buttress what you say, in the hiring processes that I've done, I try to also ask people, what would you rather do and not get paid for? I will need you to tell me that, even with what you are seeking to do, or what are your life goals, as it were. And people will be like, answer this, and I would rather do this, even if I'm not getting paid, I enjoy doing this. So that may also show you that that could be the line of what you should be doing. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I think what I would like to advise or tell anyone that is looking for a job or is in a job is this. First, let me just say this. Given the situation in the country and that the fact that you've taken up that job, be passionate about it. Give all you can to that job. Now, that is just the starting stage. What most people don't know, and based on the way most times we think in this country, is that people think short term. You know, you can start somewhere, but you don't necessarily have to end there. You will not necessarily end there. Okay? For now, you can do something to start and earn a livelihood, but you have plans to probably do something else. I've seen people that started in organizations, they started with in some other department that it was not really what they liked to do, but they were passionate about what they were doing. They did it very well, such that they were acknowledged, and then they got an opportunity to make a pitch for them to be moved to a department where they could do what they really love to do. Now, one thing is this. No matter what it is that you love to do, the fact is that every organization or every industry has a value chain. There are different set of activities. And in that value chain, you probably like a particular set of activities. You'd rather be involved in a particular set of activities that will help the organization bring value. But first, come in and do very well what it is that you are hired to do at a particular point in the value chain. Do it very well. When you do it very well and you stand up, there's more likelihood, and I put it to you, as an employer, that there's more likelihood for you to want to listen to a staff that has performed very well if the staff now tells you that, I love this, I think I can do it very well, and I will do it very well. Because the staff has proven themselves, you feel that, you mean you really love this? And I mean, this guy has married, I mean, you should do it.
So it will be an easy decision
Easier
for you
pitch,
to
yes.
It's easier for the person to now move to what it is that they say they love. So this issue of, oh, I don't love this job, I'm not passionate about it, I don't love it, that's why I'm doing it, that's why I'm not doing it very well, you know, it's something that people should just, you know, stop and take a look and think long term. That's what I would advise the person. Think long term.
This also applies to entrepreneurs, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it should even be very fundamental to entrepreneurs, because it's your business, you want to see it grow and all of that. But let's take a few comments coming through. On Twitter, Dosere says, according to this regime, we should be focused on fighting corruption. Fighting corruption is an economic policy. Difficult to consciously address unemployment in a regime where they preach poverty as a virtue and see entrepreneurs as criminals. How have they encouraged entrepreneurs? Oh, okay, let's take another one. Nephew says, corruption is the key factor that promotes unemployment in Nigeria. If corruption stops, then employment continues. What do you think?
I think that's a generalistic or general statement that does not really address the real issue. There's corruption everywhere in the world. The issue would be, first, look within your locus of influence. What problems can you solve that you don't have to be corrupt? Rather than looking outside that locus and saying, because government is not doing this, then I will not do my own bit. Of course it affects you. But there are things you can always do from where you are. Start with where you are. Based on what your skills, your knowledge, your abilities, create value within that environment or that space. That way, whatever you talk about corruption or not, in fact, I see corruption, or fighting corruption really, as a form of opportunity. Because in fighting corruption, if we truly want to do it, you would need systems that would help you fight this corruption. So when people see this issue of, oh, corruption, government is fighting corruption, why don't I provide solution to stop corruption, or at least mitigate the effect of corruption? I don't have to be corrupt to do that. So there are solutions along that line. The problem is I will all complain about it, and then somebody comes from abroad and says, oh, I have this system that from end to end helps you to manage, for example, funds flow, and then collects all the money and goes on and says, corruption is sorted out now, but you still don't have a job.
Okay. Let's take this comment again. Mbagwo on Twitter at Savior's Church, is it? Savior Chika. Why do organizations find it difficult to take in volunteer staff? Volunteers.
I don't think organizations find it difficult to take in volunteer staff. I think the issue is this. Do they need the volunteer staff? That's the first question. Then, two, in looking for a volunteer staff, organizations also have, for those of them that take, they also have a limit. Probably their quota for the year might be, maybe, I know an organization that takes, but they have a quota. Once they take that quota, they don't take anymore. And then also, it's also not just a matter of just taking volunteers. Sometimes I've had the issue where I found out that some volunteers were taking, but they just come, they just coast around and loaf around in the organization. They don't know that that is an opportunity for them to make a mark for themselves, learn something, even if they don't end up being becoming permanent staff in the organization, learn something that they can take away, that they can use somewhere else, or work hard in the organization such that they become permanent staffs. So
okay, let's quickly take this last comment because we'll come to the end of the show. Creative thinking. Hillary in the Mele says, creative thinking is the way to go, coupled with enabling environment. All right. I think that's the much we can take, because if we continue, there's no time to continue anyway right now. I'm still talking about this. But we'll continue to look at it even as days and weeks to come. Hopefully, one of these days again, both of you will come and we'll continue to look at even why we are not seeing so many vacant positions in organizations. And even if you're seeing the vacant positions, what do you do to get that job? Yes, to fill those positions. So I want to say many thanks to you both for being on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll be speaking with Folorunso Aliyu as well as Nnaji Ekiotenne. Both are authors of a book. I wouldn't say the book here now. So that's, just if you want to get more information, this is a digital age. You should know what to do. I've called their names. So you, so you should know what to do. So many thanks for watching today. Thank you for being